yourself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Wednesday night, which means it's Geordies here. Geordies there, and I'm joined by George, Steve, Mitch, Alwaleed, and Stu. And we've got plenty to talk about in the next hour. And I thought, rather than going over the three games that I've quite barely missed, and I'm sick of getting reminded that I've missed 3 wins on the belt, which I don't really go through again. I wanted to talk about Matthew Racebeck's interview, which is going live on Radio Newcastle tonight. You'll be able to catch up on the BBC Sounds website, of course. But he interviewed Sean Longstaff, and it'll be going out on Total Sport tonight. And the quote I found really interesting is the one that Matthew tweeted, Racebeck 10 on Twitter. Because under this manager, I feel I've improved so much. Maybe in the last couple of years, that learning and development bit was missing. I'm just focusing on trying to be the best footballer I can be. Hopefully, that will be, yeah. You'll be able to hear the full interview, as I said, on Radio Newcastle, George. But I found that, again, another damning condemnation of Steve Bruce's dinosaur managerial tactics. Well, another glowing endorsement for Eddie Howe, because Sean, Longstaff was full of promise. Potentially was going to go to Manchester United at one stage for 20 million plus. And we've all been asking the question on the show over the last few weeks, who's going to stay, who's going to go. And I think Longstaff, amongst quite a few of us, we felt, he's probably going to, one or both of Longstaff's might be surplus to requirements. But it seems like, he's happy and Eddie's happy, and he could be a long-term player at the club who's going to develop under Eddie Howe, George.
Well, the other thing it kind of confirms is some of the appalling stories we were hearing in various places about what was happening at Darsley Park. The other thing is that, if I could just say, it's not just Sean Longstaff that we thought was going to be a up-and-coming and a possible star. His brother as well. And it seemed to me, and I may be missing a shot here, but it seemed to me that when Rafa left, the talent of those two boys went with him, because they seemed to be abandoned. There was no how can you say, pushing to have them in the team and all this sort of thing. They got on the team whereas I'm sure had the managerial position stayed similarly, Rafa would have been playing both nearly all the time. I couldn't see. Whereas I say, for me, when Rafa went, their talent went out the door with him. And I think that probably knocked the stuffing out of them. And then if you get to the stage where they're not getting the kind of training that they had before, which was, don't forget, Rafa had all individual programs for all these lads. He suddenly gets a manager that's back to the bad old days of just running and making that the basis of the training, and not every day of the week either. So they had lots of time to do anything and less time to do what they should be doing. So I think, yes, I agree with you. I think we'll see a different Sean Longstaff for the next end of this season, and probably an even better Sean Longstaff in the next season. And I've got to say, going back to his brother, going back to Matty, if you look what he's doing on loan, he's been scoring goals for free on loan, which is great. I mean, that's good. That's good news. But I agree with you. It is one of the most disappointing things, that the way some of the younger players and some of the other players disappeared under the previous manager. And as I say, for me, a good bit of that is about the atmosphere at Darsley Park, what they were doing at Darsley Park. I was constantly hearing about from friends of mine who have a lane along there saying it was run. And then pre-season training was down at Middlesbrough Polytechnic's training ground where they had a sort of a mini Olympics. You know, they all did 100 meters, they all did 200 meters, they all did 400 meters, they all did 1500 meters, all timed and under pressure. And it was finished off at the end of the week with a sort of a mini marathon, again, timed under pressure. Well, if you've got players who are subject to injury like Gale, Wilson, and others who have niggles, the last thing they need is to be treated like sprinters or long distance runners. What they've got to have is a special program that meets their needs. And it's no surprise to me that Dwight Gale was out injured most of the time, the Brewster's manager, because if that's what they were doing, his muscles would be stretched in a way in which wouldn't be proper for a footballer. It might be for an Olympic athlete, but not for a footballer. So that's a long answer to your question, Steve. But I think the Sean Longstaff's hit the nail on the head, and he's just saying what I think a lot of us thought for some time.
Yeah, 100%. Don't forget, if you want to ask George a question halfway through the program, we have the special Ask George question, and hopefully we'll get a couple of those coming in. Tom agrees with you, George. He says, I think the Longstaffs have had their confidence smashed under Bruce. Where they are now isn't good enough, but if they stay and how can help them get back to where they were, I think should be okay. Anthony also says, Bruce has been stealing the living for years and couldn't run a bath. He'll be sacked by West Brom by November. Yeah, I did see the interaction on social media, Steve, when he announced that he was staying. There was a collective groan from West Brom's supporters on Twitter and collective humour, I think, from everybody else. But yeah, the Longstaffs, I mean, you know, the Geordie lads, would love to see them do well, Steve.
Yeah, I think the whole setup bodes well for the future, because I think to see that Sean's developed in the relatively short time that Eddie Howe's been here suggests that one, existing players that are, you know, when they're coming back from loans, I'm thinking Matty obviously and Elliot Anderson. These are guys that if he can get a hold of them as well, and I think at the age they are, well, certainly in Elliot Anderson's case, I think he wouldn't qualify in the 25, so he could still be part of the first team squad and be a 26 player. And I think it also helps us getting in other younger players, because we're going to have to do that. We're not going to be able to, you know, I think we've talked in the past about the youth academy going to be hopefully developed such that it grows our own, but that's going to take a number of years to start getting the homegrown players back in. But it may well be that we're going to acquire and buy some younger players, and if they can be developed as well, you know, it says a lot about the overall coaching team. Maybe people like Graham Jones is doing a lot of work in the background. We still see him there on the edge of the pitch, but he's very much low profile now, and I'm sure that there's a plan for, you know, almost every individual and how they develop, whether it's the seasoned players. You know, we've seen how Joelinton's developed this season, and I think I'm sure every player's almost got a plan on how they're going to be developed, and Eddie and the team will be working on develop them all, and that can be seen, and certainly the players are going to be enjoying that, and I think again that'll help to get other players coming in if they say, well, the development setup is good, you know, where you come in as a youngster and you'll be helped. And you know, I think we're still talking about going back for that young lad from France, centre forward that we're going to get in January. What is it, Ekiteke? I think he's called. All I can remember is it starts and goes the same. Is it a palindrome?
Don't worry, Steve. I have exactly the same problem with names on here. Holly takes the every time.
I think he'd be the first palindrome in our history. I think, if I remember rightly, it was mentioned at the time. So, but I mean, I think he's 19, and if somebody that age is coming in and with already a lot of talent, it says that he's likely to, you know, believe that he can be improved as a player, and that's obviously what everybody wants to do.
Yeah, Stu got in with Bruce out. He doesn't often get a chance to say it these days, but he did say it. Then he said Bruce in the previous regime could have killed Joelinton's career before it had even begun. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
And Tim says, even at all, I'm putting it out there, Bruno's one of the best players I've seen at St James's Park, following our legends as Pedro and David. I'm sure we'll come to that a little bit later on. But Mitch, it's great to see, you know, Sean Longstaff and people being given a new lease of life. He's had a bit more action as well in the last few weeks, hasn't he? But I still maintain Bruce's old philosophy of run it off. Didn't help a kid coming back from a cruciate ligament injury. I'm no doctor, but running it off and coming back early is not the way to heal that kind of injury.
You might as well add the magic sponge to that, mightn't you? You know,
I forgot about the magic sponge.
You know, this is where you're at with that kind of philosophy. I mean, there was a point where Man United were genuinely interested in Sean Longstaff, and they were throwing figures around like 30, 40, 50 million quid. And he seemed to lose his way, and I think that part of what lost his way was he lost what his role was. I think when Man U were chucking those figures around, he was playing more as sort of the number 10, the advanced end of the midfield, supporting the strikers, rather than as a deep lying or a ball winning midfielder. And that ironically was how he got his bloody injury as well, was going through into the box trying to control something. And I think he's lost his way in that respect as well. In what position are you? Where do you fit? Are you the round peg in the square hole again? I think he's lost a lot of that. And, you know, just the examples of Bruce's bizarreness continued even today. I don't know if you've seen the thing today where he said from next season, every West Brom player must live within a mile of the training ground. Even though he's commuting from Cheshire. And what is that? What's that supposed to do? You know, it would sound like he has a problem with discipline on the training ground, people not turning up on time and things like that. Oh, does that sound familiar? That sounds very familiar to me. You know, who would have thought it? And I think this is the problem. We've got somebody who, as has rightly been said by both Steve and my dad, you know, these young lads, both the Longstaffs, were making strides under Rafa and developing under Rafa, and they've hit the buffers. They've hit the buffers big time. And there's only one reason for that, and that was the person who was in charge of their training, the person who was in charge of their development. Because there was none. Because we kept being told, if you remember, that improvements were being made and we were seeing advances, and we could see very clearly with our eyes there was no improvement anywhere. And so am I surprised to hear Sean say that? No. I think there's a number of the players in the last few weeks have just very calmly and subtly bumped Bruce under the bus time and again. Ryan Fraser's comments, I think, were damning, really, without naming a name. And I think this shows where this squad wants to be and why they're happy to have Howe as their manager now.
Yeah, interesting times. Lots of comments coming in. Keep them coming in. I'll try to get through as many as I can. Charlie says, Sean has looked okay, but let's be honest, he doesn't look like he'll ever be a regular top 6 player as much as we would like him to be, which is, you know, I think it's fair comment on recent performances, but he can only get better. George says, I went to the doctors with a stiff neck. How do you get that? Asked the doctor. Looking up the league table, two in black and white on, he says, George, which is good. He's vying for Ian Mearns' position as Joker on the show. But Sean Longstaff, what have you made of Sean Longstaff at Newcastle over the last couple of years?
For Sean Longstaff, I think now he's depressed because when things was with Steve Bruce down, he even didn't get a chance after that injury. And now with new owners and bright future, he think maybe he's not good enough to reach that level. I can tell he's depressed, and also I can see he have fear of injury, get injury again, because some players get fear of injury, especially when you have a knee problem. For me myself, I have injury last year. I hurt my knee very bad, and I did surgery. After that, I'm not the same. I know I'm not a professional player, but I can feel I'm afraid. And sometimes I see my kids play or with his friends. I can't join them because I have afraid of getting that experience. I can't say maybe have a same, because when I see his interaction with the players when he play, he have not that strength as before because the injury. But the good thing is he's lucky because Eddie Howe have faith in him. He want to give him another chance. Eddie Howe want to be fair, and this is a really good thing from Eddie Howe. We know there is first choice, the lineup, the starting lineup. There is a second choice, and maybe some of players will be a third option. So for I think staff, in defense midfielder, if you can, is he defense midfielder, or he can be play center?
Yeah, he can play. I mean, look, he's probably best as a defensive midfielder, Al-Walid, you would say. But he's played in different roles. He's not Mr. Versatility as some of the other midfield players are, but he's, if you use him in the right position, a defensive midfield player is probably what I would say he is.
I think I saw him in Chelsea. He did good. So for me, and for Newcastle, I expect defense midfielder will be signed in the summer. Second one who will be Shelby in that position, and Longstaff will be the third. And he has lucky because he have another chance. Eddie Howe want him to stay. So who knows? Maybe he can improve if he find the confidence.
Yeah. Steve goes, seriously lost his way at one time. We all thought he was better than Declan Rice. He has ground to make up, but good luck to him. Tim Cairns says, hard work and a galvanised squad is what we have now. It's not rocket science. Lazy managers getting out. And Roger Cook says, I thought Bruce's woeful training methods were a canny part of the groin injuries. But Seaman, I mean, I would agree with you, Roger. I think we covered that on this show at one point. I think it was Mitch who brought it up on one of the Amigos show about the amount of soft tissue injuries that we were picking up under Steve Bruce, and that was probably a year into Steve Bruce's managerial career, and Mitch was bringing it up even back then. So it's as you say, it's not rocket science. I think Eddie Howe is certainly getting everything right. Stu, Longstaff, Geordie lad. I mean, we want to see him do well. We want to see Matty do well, and I think Howe's the best man to get things out of them. Of course, we've got Isaac Hayden coming back in as well, and Steve Wilkinson mentioned the other lad Anderson who's out on loan. I mean, there's plenty of players who've got options who Howe will be looking at closely over the next few months, I would imagine.
I wouldn't pick him. I'd have him gone. If he wasn't a local lad, would still be an outcry to keep him in the squad. I think we'll have to take the sentiment out of it if we're going to progress the way that we want to as fans and the owners want to as owners. Is he the best defensive midfielder we've got? No. I'm agreeing with Al-Walid totally. Is he the best box-to-box midfielder? No. Is he the best attacking midfielder? No. Has he lost a yard of pace at least? Yes. Has he not been getting his game? Can he force his way into this team if we're going to make new signings? We can't get the team as it is, never mind when we get new signings. And to me, that's a squad place that could be given to a fresh midfielder. And I'm sure when we do talk about signings, we'll be talking about people that are better than Joe Longstaff. He's had time to fulfil his potential. I think it's easy to take a cheap shot at Bruce when your contract's up, and the time should have been at the time or when Eddie Howe first come in, as Callum Wilson did, as Ryan Fraser has. But now to do it, I think we need to leave Bruce alone. It's West Brom's problem, not ours. And Longstaff, as much as we all desperately would love to have him running the midfield, we know he's not going to. And then you've got to think, if you did a poll, do you want someone like Paqueta or Calvin Phillips as all show Longstaff in your squad? Because he's a local lad, he's still covered distant third. So I think we have to move away from it. And I haven't read his interview or heard his interview, but to me, he's in my list of people in the squad who think they know the time's up and they're realising they've taken it easy for a while. Some have rolled the sleeves up, managed to get back in favour, such as Shaw. But some have left it too late, and that's it. That's what we have to look at and think. Right, we're now in a position where every person in that squad and everyone in the fringe of that squad wants to be part of it now, and that's down to Eddie Howe and his coaching staff. So I don't blame him for not wanting to leave. I'm sure there's other people who are thinking, I want to leave. There'll be people like himself. There's Fernandez. There's Clark. Who else have we got? Richie, Isaac Hayden, you mentioned. You know, all of them have given 100%, and they should go with our best wishes and get a nice round of applause if we ever play them again. But they're not going to take this club forward, and there's 3 or 4 squad places that we need if we're going to sign the 4 to 8 players that people are talking about on a regular basis. So, regarding Sean Longstaff, no.
Yeah, fair play, and that's what it's all about, opinions and listening to other people's opinions, and quite a mixed bag there. And in the chat, Trolls says Longstaff should either be loaned out next season or sold, in my opinion. So you're not alone, Stu, in that way of thinking. Mark Todd, I'm going to come to your comment after I've read Gary's, and Gary just wanted to say, evening panel, hi Stu, it was a pleasure meeting you and Steve Hasty and Joe Walker after the Leicester game. The missus says hello. She also said he's a big lad. I said he's as tall as me as well. So there we go.
It was great. I mean, obviously I met some of the Baz crew, some for the first time. Andre, Pete Davey, Mick Lowes. But it was great to see people. Though you see the names on here, but put faces to them. So there was people like Gary, who I met with his wife and his friend and his. Well, I presume his wife might be his partner. We met them outside Shearer's Bar after the game. And then we'd met Simon Davies when we were with you, Steve, on the previous Saturday. And we met Trevor in Shearer's Bar. There was Vince.
Vince Smith.
Vince, yeah. And it was great seeing JJ again and his mum. And he says something to me. He says, I love watching you. You're my favourite. You're always right. And I said, I tell my wife that, but she doesn't believe us. Yeah, so I'm his biggest fan now. So hello, JJ. I said I'll give you a shout out, mate.
Brilliant, great stuff. Fantastic to see you, and look forward to you both getting back across, Mitch included. Mark Todd gives us the next point of debate. If anyone's got one, put it across. We'll try and get through it in the next hour. He goes, hi guys, I don't know if they do this already, but for people who are struggling to get games, home and away, why don't they give loyalty points for attending the women's games? This would build the club up as a whole. Now, George, it's something I brought up on the show before, the loyalty points, and it only becomes an issue when people want to go to the game. Normally, it's completely ignored.
Yeah.
People aren't bothered about it. But we've gone from away game tickets selling out on 120 loyalty points. Now, you know, well, that's where we're at now. You know, they were going down to 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, you know, general sale at the start of the season. Now it's 120 points, 110 points. So I know this is something we'll probably continue to discuss, but should people get loyalty points for going to cup games? I've always said, if you go to the League Cup games at St James's Park or away from home, you should get a loyalty point for those home games. You should get them for the FA Cup. You should get it for the pre-season friendly you go to, because you're showing loyalty. You should maybe get one if you've, you know, there should be added incentives. I don't know. What's your thoughts, George?
Well, I agree. If it's a Newcastle match, there should be, and people are going, there should be points involved. I'll just smiling when you said about the points in what matches. I'll take it back to a comment at the Chicken Road Academy. My grandfather used to say, the lads used to argue about who used to be in the team, and my grandfather once said, "Yous lot would go and watch the whole lot, even if there was 11 bloody monkeys playing, never mind players." And it's true. It was, as long as they put a black and white shirt on, they'd go. So my view is that if people are prepared to go and watch a game and pay money to watch a game particularly, they're entitled to some recognition for it. And if recognition is the point, is loyalty points for an away game, well, fine. I like the idea that it might include the ladies team as well. I mean, the owners are embracing the women's football team. Well, why not the supporters as well? And so, if there's a way of doing that, and it's surely a simple. If you buy a ticket, you get a tick in the box. I don't see anything wrong with people getting loyalty points if they're going to games. And the other thing is, because we're only arguing or discussing this point because we're doing well. We're doing well, but people forget that when compared to other teams in the Premiership, we've been selling all our away tickets for a very, very long time. Not even under the previous manager, the away games were getting well sold out. and some of the big six taking us for a ride. For example, like Chelsea, suddenly their away end tickets went up to about 45 quid just because it was the Geordies coming. Well, I think that's a disgrace. But on the other hand, if people are going to matches and paying for it, is what I'm getting to, really, they're entitled for recognition. If recognition happens to be a loyalty points for cup games or any other game, or away games rather, then yes, they should get them.
Steve, what's your thoughts on the whole loyalty points system? Because I've seen some people on social media come out and say they should scrap it. You know, I mean, it's not really fair on the people who've been at home and away for the Ashley games for 14 years and watched some pretty substandard football.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult thing to, because as George just pointed out, you know, when we're doing well, the demand's there, and it's when it's going to the games when we weren't doing well, and you know, even going back over previous years, it's a problem. From a personal point of view, I don't go to really any games out now, but you know, going on as a wheelchair user has always been a problem in the past, because most grounds have very few wheelchair places for away fans. It can be in single figures at some grounds, and Newcastle's one of them actually. I think you really only want to be up there amongst where your home section is, and it's up on the level 7 behind the goal. And I suspect there's only about half a dozen places for the away wheelchair users. So the same thing applies there. That if you're a regular attender at matches, you know, getting tickets is difficult. I agree. I think any time you support the club, you know, whatever level, it deserves recognition in some ways, and how you weight that is always going to be the difficult thing. You say, well, do you get 1 point for a under 23 game? Get 2 points for a women's game? Do you get 5 points for going and watching a cup match? Very, very difficult, and I don't know if there's a solution other than trying to have more tickets available. I think is probably the biggest thing, and I don't know whether, you know, there are games. I don't know whether is there a limit on how many you can have at away grounds. It used to be about 3,000 or so. Or was that just because, you know, it seemed to be the amount you ever got?
I know the FA Cup, Steve. It's all down to percentage, isn't it? 25%. 25% of the gate, but I'm not sure whether. I'm sure it's down to the actual club. I think it's down to the actual club. They could give you 5,000, but they're not going to. I think
there's a minimum amount, isn't there? I think there's a minimum amount I have to give you, and then after that, it's up to the club. But I don't know whether there's times when we've been limited to, you know, 2,500 maybe, when we possibly could have got 5,000 plus in.
Well, there was under games under Ashley when we were offered a lot of tickets, and Ashley wouldn't take them.
No, that's right.
because the club's got to buy them up front, and Ashley wouldn't take them.
Yeah.
So there were away tickets sent back. We didn't get the chance to get them.
I think it used to be if you took more than 3,000, you had to pay for them. Whereas if you up to 3,000, you could return, and you know, you weren't penalised for that. And Ashley took that attitude; he didn't care.
Mitch, what's your take on the whole loyalty points scheme? I mean, obviously you're an exiled mag, so it's something which at the moment doesn't really, you know, doesn't come into it for you.
Yeah,
but I mean, you can see it from the outside looking in, and you know, massive success at the club is going to mean increased demand. But you know, you're going to get people who aren't going to be happy that they can't get tickets.
But I can tell you firsthand from going back to when Steve and I were involved with the trust and before. This is not a new argument. This is not a new discussion at all. There's no perfect way to determine how the tickets should be allocated, in my opinion. I think the loyalty point system, at least everybody understands it. Whether you agree with it or not, it's easy to understand. Do you award loyalty for more than just certain games? That's probably one way to tweak it. There's no doubt about that. God, imagine how many points the Undertaker would have racked up. God rest his soul. You know, it'd have been bloody everything. You know, but there is no perfect way to work it out. I've seen different ways of calculating it, with time cut-offs and resetting after a certain period of time to take into account historic people who've got lots of points but aren't going anymore, which I guess would be me in one certain circumstance. I know somebody who's lost all his loyalty points at one go because of an error at the ticket office, and they wouldn't give us them back. you've got to build them back up again. It's not easy, but you can do it. It's tricky though, and takes a lot of extra commitment. And so, yeah, being able to earn extra points for doing other things like women's games, League Cup games. I think League Cup games in particular, because you think some of the crowds we get for League Cup games.
Yeah.
The people bother to go to them in shitty weather on a November night. Yeah, a lot of your points should be up for grabs for that. There's probably a discussion to be had about different ways to calculate. But I think you're never going to get a perfect system where everybody's happy. You're just not. You're always going to have a compromise system of one form or another. Because, I mean, like I say, Steve Acey and I have looked at this at least 4 times together in one way, shape, form or another. When Derek Lambias, I forget what he wanted to do with it. He really wanted to reshape it and revamp it, and it was like, whoa, you're going to upset everybody. So we managed to put the brakes on that one. I can't remember off the top of my head what he wanted to do, but it was typically ridiculous.
Anybody who bought something in Sports Direct automatically got a ticket.
Probably, yeah. It would have been something as cockamamie as that, like. It was. I just can't off the top of my head remember exactly what it was, but either way,
anybody who went to his casino and put 20 on black,
exactly
4 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's a Wednesday and your middle name is Jeffrey, you can have a ticket. It was a bit like that though, and so there's just no possible way of doing it. I think the basis on loyalty points at least is one thing: people understand it. Whether they agree with it or not, they at least understand it. And I think that's going to be a starting point. We can't have a convoluted and complicated way of working out about who gets tickets, because you'll start more arguments than you'll solve.
Yeah. Charlie Hotspur was asking, has interest in Newcastle grown significantly in Saudi these last few months? And I guess, keeping on the ticket theme, would you like to see tickets available for those people in Saudi to come to the game? Okay, so from where I start with the same topic, the theme. Better, but maybe if it's like 3,000, if you are talking about away games, maybe can be divided, like third to loyal points, third by normal routes, and last third maybe by marketing or contest or something social. Or socially or something. This will make everybody happy. Of course, it's a daily, it's day by day, it's getting increased. And actually now, I remember Steve when we were talking about. Now I start to have some few issues, little issues, with the fans, because the argument, the talking, it starts because before it was few, but now it's getting more and more, and this is very excited, and a lot of fans, they are switching to Newcastle and ignore their original teams, which make me happy, and it's got a huge and you can see I try to make all the point of view from Saudis through my YouTube and Twitter account. Yeah, good stuff.
We can't say we've not warned people that football support in this region is very different, and it's one of the things as a fan base we are going to have to learn to love. That people will jump on a winning horse, people will follow a big name player, and that's the way it works out here. And it's not just KSA, it's UAE, it's Bahrain, and many other places in the Middle East. The difference comes when there is some sort of perception of this is owned by the country, the way PSG are in Qatar, and to a similar extent with PIF's involvement with Newcastle United. There'll be some degree of wanting to follow the loyalty in that respect. But yes, get used to this concept of people switching teams, guys. It's going to happen. We've just got to learn to embrace it and love it and welcome everybody on board.
I would just like to add one thing, please. The funny thing, it was maybe before the takeover, it was only my show or my account to speak about Newcastle. But now there are so many subdivisions. Some people with me support me, some people against me. So this is start to happen lately.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's a good sign. Trull says the loyalty point thing prevents fans from other countries to go and see their team and club, which is fair enough. Gary, of course, probably going down Stu's route. He goes, what about loyalty points for how many pints you drink, Stu?
I'd be on the bench, wouldn't I, next year?
Get warmed up, Stu.
That's a cracking idea. No, I mean, the loyalty point, I know Mitch has just mentioned it. It's something that's happened for years and years. I'm going back 20 odd years ago when we used to go to the games, away games, but it's unfair now to say that you should go to women's games, youth games, reserve games. People have to work as well, you know, and it's not where everyone works or live within 5 miles of where, work within 5 miles of where they live. Yeah, you know yourself, there's a lot of people travel over 20 to 50 to 100 to 200 miles for every home game. And these people shouldn't be penalised because they can't get to a game on a work night or they can't, or something to do, to take holidays, but they can't get to a women's game or they can't get to a youth game or they can't get to a reserve game. You know, it's the first team and it's the people who support the first team should get the rewards. And the more you go, the more reward you should get. But they could stagger it where, yes, they put the loyalty points out first and so it starts off with 100 points, etc. But when the accumulation of points could be done differently. If you've got a League Cup game away to Mansfield, for example, then you should get more points than going to Old Trafford away. It's easy to go to the big games, but you should be rewarded more points for going to smaller games. But I don't think we're going to have any problems for the foreseeable future of selling away allocation. It's just who gets them. And so I don't want to say too much on it, like living abroad. It's not for me, and I'm not able to get many home games, let alone away games. But it's a problem that's been going on for a long time. But it seems to rear its ugly head more when we're successful again. And it's only just starting now. So what do we do? Start everyone afresh? And as you said yourself, Steve, people have been going and watching some dross over the last 15 years. They just, they bring about a tombola at half time and shout out the people who get the tickets for the away games. There has to be some sense of reward. I think reading and understanding and knowing people who go to the games, the problem starts is when people are applying for them and then giving the tickets away. They're not using them themselves.
Yeah.
And that's, so I don't know if that could be monitored better. But to me, it's not a case if it's not broken, you can't fix it, but is there an easy fix for it? I don't think there is.
No, Anton goes, I went to 4 games this season without seeing us win when they still hit general sale. Yet I only got to the Wolves game at home because a friend got me a last-minute ticket. It's unfortunate. This is the situation we're in when things are going well. And he goes, a spare ticket. Someone wasn't using that as well, which is a fair point. Rachel says, what happens with away tickets? What's the limit you can buy per person? Is it only 1 per season ticket holder? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a season ticket holder. I've been every away game bar 3 this season and I can only buy 1 ticket. Tell goes to many games home and away, lives in London, of course, goes, hate the loyalty points subject. Many didn't walk away. I have a season ticket for 41 years. This season, I get the issues that we currently have, but many like myself have always shown loyalty. So yeah, it's one of those things which runs and runs. When the ground was redeveloped in All City, they filled in about 4 foot at the front of each stand. Dig it back out and put 4 rows of standing in, says JJ. And Tel says pre-takeover away tickets were easy to get, often 0 points. Tom also says, what happened in the olden days when we didn't have loyalty points in place? Well, somebody who knows about the olden days, of course, is George. Sorry, George.
Right.
It's time for Ask George.
Well,
Segued nicely into that. I've got 3 questions for George. One is from Geordie Toonverlight. He says, question for George, what is the most sportsmanship thing he has seen on the pitch at any game in the world?
in the world? Oh, gosh, that's really making us think.
Did somebody score a goal? Did somebody score a goal recently, George? Probably in the last 5 or 6 years. And then because they felt it was unfair, they allowed somebody else.
Score. Yeah.
They allowed the other team to score. Who was that?
That's right. It was this what we've got now, where kick the ball out when there's somebody injured, and the referee played the ball, rolled the ball into the field. I think it was Arsenal actually against. Can't remember
Sheffield
who
United.
against. It might
Leeds
yes.
or something, I think.
No, it was Sheffield United, and I think it may be. I think it was Arsenal, and one of the Arsenal players might even be the famous Thierry Henry, hit the ball towards the goal, and overhit it, so it went past the Sheffield goalkeeper, and then the Arsenal they lined up the play and talked to the referee, and the Arsenal player stood back while the Sheffield player went the length of the field and equalised, and that's pretty good. But I've seen other things. I mean, defining what you mean about sportsmanship, and as a Newcastle fan, I'm always proud of the fact that our fans seem to have great football knowledge. A recent one for me was the Leicester centre forward. What do they call him?
Vardy.
Vardy was on 12 goals in 12 games record. And who held the record? Alan Shearer. And they came to St James's Park, and lo and behold, Vardy beat the record. Now, I couldn't believe it in that match when our fans, almost to a man, gave him a standing ovation. There aren't many grounds where that would have happened. Quite a lot of grounds you might even have got booed. But at St James's Park, he got a standing ovation. And when he went off being substituted, he got another standing ovation, to the point where I don't think he realised why he was getting clapped at the end. But so that's what I call sportsmanship as well. And combined with what I call football knowledge. And that's something I'm particularly proud of Newcastle fans over many, many years of having great football knowledge.
Yeah. I've got a couple more questions, but I think bad sportsmanship could be here all night. Maradona and the hand of God, Thierry Henry and his little sly handball for France. I think there's probably loads. And one of the best sportsmanship ones I remember wasn't football. It was those two brothers who do, like, is it not the decathlon, the one where you swim, you bike
Brownlee.
Triathlon.
Brownlee.
That was fantastic, where he helped his brother over the line. Fantastic. But yeah, great stuff. Good question. That Tom Dixon says, ask George, what was his favourite European night, home or away with Newcastle?
Oh, Tom, I can only give you one answer, and that's the Barcelona game. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of the games, and then have some particularly nice memories of some of the bizarre ones, like Setúbal when Victoria Setúbal when it snowed, and the black players of the Setúbal team had never seen snow, never mind playing it. Did all their best to persuade the referee to put the match off. But at the Barca game when Tino scored his hat-trick, I think that goes a long way to being one of the best games. I mean, I was at the Fairs Cup final. Was good, but it wasn't a brilliant game. It was exciting because we were there and all the rest of it. But the Barca game's head and shoulders above many of the others.
Don't forget, during the pre-season, we're going to be doing a show once a week with George, looking back at seasons gone by. We're going to start with 1950 and bring it up to present day. So it's going to run for a while. So that will be a show that George, a lot of you saying, can you just do a show with George? Blah, blah, blah. So George has agreed. I'm going to do that with him. Looking forward to getting my teeth into that, because we like to give people a bit of a rest over the summer. There's not a great deal to talk about apart from transfer speculation. So it would be nice to do something different.
If anybody's wondering why I've suggested 1950, simply because I wanted to be my memories.
Yeah, of course.
Where it is. And anything before that, I mean, we've got a brilliant club historian who writes copious amounts of stuff, that you can read all the time. But this is my memory, you know. This is
That's fantastic. Last question. George says, question for George. Who was the best player from Northern Ireland to play for Newcastle, in his opinion, minus Tommy Cassidy?
Oh. The fullback, David Craig, would take some beating. And indeed, fullbacks from Northern Ireland, I mean, you got Dick Keith, Alf McMichael, David Craig. They're all brilliant players. But David Craig, I think. And David McQuarrie as well wasn't a bad player, but I think David Craig would be my personal favourite.
And just a quick one on Dave Hilly, because Gary Milliken's put this in. He says, can you tell me what type of player Dave Hilly was, because he taught me at school?
Brilliant, Dave Hilly, very skillful. We continually in modern game talk about box-to-box midfield as well. David Hilly was that, but he also had a lot of skill, and his goal scorer wasn't too bad either. The other thing about David Hilly is that I know David quite well because his wife worked for North Tyneside Council and was one of the advisors to school governors. And I was a school governor for nearly 50 years. I got to know Margaret Hilly very well. And when we went to dues, David was always there. So, but yeah, David was a lovely ball player, but also slight build, not a very big bloke, but a nice bloke, but hard as nails, like a lot of Scots were, and could score a goal as well as do all the fancy stuff.
Great stuff. Big shout out to our sponsor, Spider Miner. Worldwide coverage from the guys down there who've been with us since the year dot. The only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies all at the same time whilst using virtually no energy. And it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Thanks also to the lads at Skips and Bins who've been there again, more or less the same amount of months and years as Spider VPN. But thank you so much for your support, Scott. Great to see you guys. Heavily advertised at Newcastle Airport on the journey out and back. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors 01913897245 and the Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD Hemp and Cannabinoid Specialists www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to ClearKine, meet the new Game Over screen, drop into a ClearRun device near you, available on Apple Store, Google Play, and clearrun.game. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical and video side of things. And if you want to subscribe, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. We do 7 shows a week. And it's all free content. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share in your social media, and drop into the comments section to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. You can also hear us as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Usually goes up within 24 hours of the show going out. I know that Neil from Media Arts will be away though shortly, so there might be a slight delay in next week's shows. But as I say, you can always hear us on there as well. And if you want to become a member, you can either click join below, or you can scan your phone over the QR code and join us at the membership section of the website. And you get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and a membership card, and entry into the NUFC Matters monthly draw. We also give away free car stickers to those of you who subscribe. Just contact John at the website. Don't forget, Supermac will be doing a free talk in pre-match and post-match at the game at the weekend. He will be at the Dog and Parrot, which opens at 10:30 this weekend. He will be on live at 11 and then back in after the game round about 3 o'clock. And if you want to support the food bank, you can either pop up to meet Steve Hasty, Bill Corcoran and the guys outside the back of the Gallagher, or you can do a virtual donation at nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The match day bucket is operational 365 days of the year. Don't forget the Shearer Ball is still up for grabs. Only 99 tickets, £2.99 a ticket. Get yourself onto the website, nufcmatters.com, to enter that. Pick that ball up today, and it is a really nice thing for your collection. So if you want to enter, get yourself on. There was only 260 made. I know there's a lot of happy punters on here who've already got one. And last but by no means least, the Summer Do, 24th of June, the NUFC Matters Summer Party is at Shearer's Bar, and it will be Mick Lowes and Andy Griffin. Tickets are £12, available from nufcmatters.com. I'll be there. A lot of the gang will be there. And that promises to be a really good day because Mick Lowes, a really good night. Mick Lowes and Andy Griffin making their debuts together. Never done one, Andy Griffin, so this should be an interesting night. And don't forget, I do my Wednesday night show, following on from this, around about 7:15, News of the World, which is a satirical look, I would say, at the news with a really good panel. Patricia Devlin joins me from Ireland. Lee Davies jumps on from Leeds, and we also have Andrew Gain and Cookie on tonight. And what we're talking about? We're talking about the return of Piers Morgan to television. We're talking about whether Donald Trump is going to run in the USA again. We're talking about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. Is that the good news for the trolls? And we're also talking about YouTube beefs. Decker Heggie against Dean Lynch Ward. The fight which may happen or may not happen, who knows. We're also going to have a look at misogyny in Parliament and that alleged Sharon Stone moment from Angela Rayner. Did it happen? Didn't it happen? Should Boris's MP have said what he said? Who knows? It'll be an interesting debate, that's for sure. But that's News of the World following straight on after this at 7:15. Okay, we're going to have a look ahead now to the game at the weekend. Stu, we'll come to you first. Liverpool at home, 12:30 kickoff live on BT Sport. As always, it's a sellout. We had the news yesterday, which seemed to cause a lot of dismay and controversy, that Andre Marin as the referee and Mike Dean, well-known Scouser but Tranmere fan, he says, is on VAR. We know for certain that Newcastle United will be without the services of Ryan Fraser, Kieran Trippier and Callum Wilson. As for Liverpool, well, they have a game in the Champions League, of course. Newcastle have had a full week's preparation for this game without the midweek game, which is great. So you cannot be predicting 3-1 to Newcastle for this, surely.
I've already bet it.
Have you really?
I do every game, but I got 66 to 1, and then I looked again today. It was 50s nothing. I didn't put that much on it, but I did it. But I don't think that'll be the score. Just it's one of those. If I don't, it'll happen. And that's when the odds are bigger. So it's just a silly blind bet now. But it's this Newcastle. Look at the form table. It's the top 2 in the country going head to head.
Very true.
So you know what? If you look at Newcastle in this calendar year, they haven't drawn at home. So I'm going to take us to draw with Liverpool. The last time we drew at home, both me and Mitch were there, and that was Man United. And it's just been WWWLLLW. And there was only one draw in the league, and that was away to West Ham. Everything else, so we're due a draw. I don't think Liverpool will take us lightly. I believe that they're going to look at us as one of their slipping stones, I suppose, for want of a better phrase, where they could mess up. And it's an early kickoff. I think Klopp's starting psychology already complained about the time. It makes no difference whatsoever. It's a Wednesday night to Saturday morning. It's not as if he's travelling from Uzbekistan or something. He's only come a couple hundred miles up the road, not even that from Liverpool. So I think that's just to get the siege mentality going amongst these players. But the European semi-final, they might put Villarreal to bed tonight, and that could make him go full strength again with us. But where he's got loads of choices up front, if you look at the options, there was for the last couple of years, there's been the traditional Firmino, Salah, and Sane, but now you've got Jota there, you've got Diaz there, and obviously Origi as well, who scores against us. Not as often as he does against Everton, but he likes to score against us as well. So they're spoiled for choice, and that's getting back to show Longstaff. That's the type of choices that we should be striving for going forward. But let's say we take the game to them. I just wanted to mention Bruno. I won't mention his hat. But I loved the way he scored when he got the ball. The way, if you watch it back, the way he rolled his foot over the ball to tee himself up for the chip. He didn't knock it forward. He rolled his foot over it. It took the pace off the ball, and he gave him total control. He's a special talent already, and he's a winner. And you've got people like him and Trippier that are in, and I'm sure we'll say more. And this is the mentality that we need to be able to challenge. And I don't think he's going to go on that pitch thinking, well, let's try and keep the score down. He wants to go and show them that he's saying for a team that's good enough. So I'll say 2-2. Bruno will score one of them.
Okay, interesting. What about you then, Albert? How do you see this game going against Liverpool? It's a tough game, but as Stu rightly points out, it's the top two form teams in the Premiership coming head to head, and it's got a bit of a feeling of that Rafa Benitez game when Liverpool again were chasing the league. They fell just short, of course, that season, and Origi came on and got a winner. We've just seen him do the same in a recent game for Liverpool. But yeah, I think the pressure's on Liverpool, Albert.
Exactly, and I've been discussing in Twitter space with Saudi fans, and someone mentioned that Eddie Howe with Bournemouth was difficult opponent to a club a few years back. So I hope why not? I know it's a difficult game, and I can feel that Newcastle have no excuse because now guarantee not to be relegated. So why not? And we have, I think, thank God we have, don't have that injury players from the lineup. So why, and maybe just a few. So why not play for a win? Nothing to lose, and it's a preview of the next season. And Eddie Howe must really play for a win because he will know what player he needs. Because we don't want players to stay for sympathy. We want players can fight for a top standing table next season. So this is opportunity better than friendly pre-season games. Because this is now you play with Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, all they want something, even barely. So it's good opportunity for games. You can really know do you have enough winnable player or not. So, but I hope it's gonna be fair, square referee, regardless VAR referee.
With the exception of Rachel Lilly and Yano on this channel, who have always been the positivity cult, I've got to say, Al-Walid, your first trip to Newcastle after the takeover, you were on stage at the Irish Club, and what did you say?
We are not being relegated.
Exactly. You exuded confidence, and you were right, mate. So well done. It's the first time I've been able to congratulate you on that, but you were right, mate. Well done. Prediction from you, Al-Walid, for the game?
If it's a fair refereeing, because I have not much faith, especially this year. I can't see. Okay, maybe I can say draw, but I can't see why not Newcastle play for a win. And why not? It's not impossible.
Okay, Mitch, I won't ask you for your prediction. We'll do that on Friday. But just overall feeling about the game.
Well, we've created a situation where we're giving ourselves a free go, and isn't that perfect? I think Stu says that we're the two form team in the Premiership. And it's a good time for how to measure exactly where we are, really. And we've had one test like that against Spurs, and it has to say we failed it. It would be nice to see we pass this test and show a bit more about it, not get done tactically, not get caught chasing the game if we fall behind. I think we've got an opportunity to play with that freedom. And so with that in mind and with everything in mind, I feel like it's headed for a draw. I don't think we'll lose. I've got a feeling we're going to stick a spanner in there, title chase works. But we've got the opportunity to go out and show the world why we're the second best form team in the Premiership up against the form team in the Premiership. So bring it on. And the players should go out there. Good grief, if you see any of those players not committed, they're never going to be committed in a black and white shirt if they can't get up for this game at the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Steve, coming to you next. Your views on this Liverpool game and a prediction from you?
Yeah, well, I think George and I were just chatting before the show, and to me, it's like a school year that we've had the revisions and we've done the work, and here the next three games are the exams, and as Mitch says, this is the first of the key tests coming up, followed by Man City and Arsenal, and I don't think we'll lose all three games. So I think that'll start with I think we'll get a draw on Saturday. The dilemma for Eddie Howe, I think, is he made 4 changes on Saturday, and what team does he pick this time? Is he going to go back to putting Shaw in at the back? Personally, I would. We had Longstaff playing. We've discussed him earlier on, but I think Shelby will come back in there. But big question marks is does he bring Chris Wood back in? Because I thought Murphy was involved in the first 2 goals. and I thought is worthy of a place, despite the fact that Almiron playing great before that. So interesting to see how the team's picked on Saturday. But I think our, if the defence is in midfielders keeps them out like they did and showed the resilience they showed in the 3 home games, because I think we were under the cosh. Palace put us under the cosh. Leicester did, and the defence held out firm. And we're obviously going to have to do that with Liverpool, the flair attacking players they've got. But I think if we can show that same resilience and not go gung ho like we did against Tottenham, we can get a draw and keep them down. So I'm going to go with 1 each.
Okay, George, last but by no means least, your views on the game and prediction.
Well, it should be a fantastic game. I mean, everybody said it about the form teams, and I agree with Neil. If our 11 players can't perform in this match, then we don't need them at St James's Park. But the other side of it is, for me, personally, I want to see that smug look knocked off Overstum Führer Klopp's face at the end of the game, because he gets right. He gets right up my nose. He does. He just stands there and lords it over everybody and anybody. It just needs taken down a peg, and I think we're going to do it on Saturday 2-1 without any problem. And can I have another go, Steve? We have opinions on shows like this, and I've not short of sharing mine. Well, for 2 years, I've been kicking to death one of our players regularly and questioning whether he was a footballer, and that was Joelinton. So, Joe, my humble apologies, because you've proved that there is a footballer in there. I've got rid of your old nickname, Blister, because that's not appropriate now. Your new nickname is Lazarus, because your improvement is got biblical proportions, Joe. So my apologies. You're doing well for the Magpies. Thank you.
He's moved his animosity and dislike onto Klopp now, which is great. So
that was always there, I can assure you.
Fantastic, great show. Thanks, everybody. And I just want to say thanks to John Smith from the Grinning Idiot Comedy Club and Vince Smith, who's watching the show tonight, for their very generous donations. I have stuck the link in the chat. I am doing the Great North Run in September for the Bradley Lowry Foundation. I am doing the Fire Walk for them as well. I did set a rather conservative total of £500. And thanks to their generosity, I think I'm up to 300 quid already, and it's only been up 4 days. So thank you guys for supporting. And anybody who can afford, a small amount, please give us a bit of backing. As I say, I am doing it for the Bradley Lowry Foundation. It'll be more of a Great North Walk, mind. Anyone who's expecting us to be sprinting and keeping up with Mo Farah, forget it. I will literally be walking around that course, but I will do it 100%. I'm looking forward to it. But as always, thanks to George, thanks to Steve Wilkinson, thanks to Mitch, thanks to Aldi, thanks to Stu. Steve Hasty was working the night. That's why he is not here, but all is well with him. I'll be back with Mitch and with Steve on Friday night at 5:30. And the good news is you can spread the word. Keith Patterson will be on the show for a couple of hours on Friday night. So looking forward to welcoming Keith back to the platform, following in the footsteps of Ian Mearns. So I'll see you all on Friday night, 5:30. Don't forget, tune in to News of the World at 7:15. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.